Mayor, do you have any thoughts on being very demure, very mindful?
I have been thinking while you've been talking, and I think I'm similar. I live my life that way, and as mayor, it's hard because you do need to be out front and center on a lot of things. But most of the time, I would probably classify myself as an extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
Is that something?
I think that is.
so.
I think that's what I am. I like to keep to myself sometimes, but then again, you have to be. You have to come on around 10.
Yeah, that's right.
That's putting yourself out there.
That's right.
So for introverts, I think we're doing pretty
all right.
well to be on. The morning,
To function, we can function
show.
if we have to. Yeah. Yeah, we just recharge our batteries with alone time. That's how that works.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yep. As an only child myself, I have to have that like battery recharge time, I think.
Just take time for yourself. That's how I'm demure. I take time for myself and recharge the batteries and just practice mindfulness.
There you go.
There you go.
Mindful's a good word. I mean, I don't think anybody can go wrong with being mindful. Mayor, can we jump into some things?
Sure.
I saw a story on the State Journal that I got very excited about this, and I've been just kind of keeping an eye around on these things around town, like when I'm driving past. But we got a couple new downtown hotels that are they're making strides and getting close, I think.
Right. I think they are. Hopefully we can, and hopefully they'll both be open this year. They're targeting the fall, October and November. I think October for the larger one, which is the old Simon Warehouse Furniture.
Mm-hmm. And that one's
building.
called the Delegate.
That'll be called the Delegate, and it'll be managed by the same firm out of Louisville, Wayland Ventures, and they have a new spinoff called Common Bond Hospitality. So Common Bond Hotels. But so they own that building, and then another group owns the property on Washington Street, which used to be known as the Queen of the Corner, E.H. Taylor's one-time home, I think, when he owned Buffalo Trace Distillery. And that is on the corner of Main and Washington, and that's going to be, I think, a 14-room boutique hotel. But it'll be same management, different owners of the properties, but you'll have a common experience in terms of registering for the property. Both properties are expected to have restaurants.
I saw that too. Yeah, I
That's a
love
big
the
deal.
idea of like a hotel, but since we work and live in around
Right.
the area, it's like I don't know how often I'll be able to stay in a hotel there. But I love the idea of a restaurant.
And so combined, we're talking over 60 rooms. And so for downtown, that'll be a big boost, and that'll help us capture some of the bourbon tourism that's happening right now. And I don't know but they expect to be full from the get-go. Mm-hmm. So the sooner the better for those properties. Mm-hmm. And I know I walk by both properties every day, and I've seen the progress.
Yeah,
and it's pretty exciting to see, and they're far along. I had the opportunity last week to tour both, and the Delegate they already have furnishings in the rooms, and I think people are going to be surprised. The Frankfort folks who you're going to go in there and you're not going to believe you're in Frankfort.
Yeah.
And
I'm hoping we can get in there soon with some cameras.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I love that the two of them sound very different in like what the vibe that they've gone for inside. One, the Delegate sounds very dark, masculine. The newspaper made it sound like a good place for secret society meetings and whatnot.
I think one of the quotes was like power meeting.
Yeah.
And I had a meeting with it, like, power meeting. Like I can imagine that being there, but
yeah. And then the picture we just saw was the Queen of the Corner, which what did we say they're calling that one?
The Ashbrook.
The Ashbrook, and a little more
There's the Ashbrook.
stately inside, and what you'd expect from a little mansion like that, really. So,
and it's going to be another event space too. The bottom right there, when you're looking at the picture, they have 2 rooms that you'll be able to rent out. For events.
Which Frankfort needs.
And on the left side there's a kind of an open space, a parlor, and then they have a bar in a restaurant in the back 2 rooms. So I don't know if they'll have a side entrance there on Main Street to get in there, but it's going to be exciting. I think people will really enjoy having those properties back in service, and that's another. And we talk about repurposing properties and rehabbing and infill. This is a prime example, and couldn't come at a better time for downtown. And I think with all the progress we've seen over the last 2 years, in downtown, new businesses opening. I think this is just a couple more projects that are going to hopefully push us over that tipping point.
Yeah. And I mean, those are two buildings that, like, I've lived here, 20 plus years. I've never had a chance to be inside those buildings, and those are two like standout architectural. Like, those are neat. This home is huge, and E.H. Taylor, like you said, like, I'd like to see the inside of that. So everybody will have a chance to with these restaurants and stuff, and just the chance to get inside, I think, will be neat for the people that live here.
And the old Simon Warehouse is just an awesome
Yeah.
location and a really
Yeah.
cool looking building.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to see that that's becoming something. And then the location, I think, of the hotels are cool. They're not like
Right.
next to each other.
Uh-huh.
Like, they occupy different parts of downtown Frankfort and can kind of bring people in different ways.
And with the delegate, as we're looking at it right there, it sits on that Broadway hill. It's the anchor of the east end of Broadway. And then on the west end, we have the riverfront and the Broadway Bridge, which that's all part of our TIF district that we passed a few years ago. And so this is going to enable us to capture some value. There's going to be increased revenue, tax revenue, that we can use to improve the infrastructure of Broadway all the way down to the river. So I think this is just the start of it. Well, it's a continuance of what we've already seen with the parcels where the Civic Center used to be and the Broadway Bridge, and now this. It's all tied in together, and it's just one piece at a time. It's all part of the downtown master plan.
Yeah.
And again, it couldn't come at a better time, because Frankfort, again, the downtown restaurants and retailers need this, and hopefully this just gives us a little bit more fuel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And discretionary spending. That's what we really need. Get these tourists in here and have them spend money.
Yeah, I think everybody's excited. Common Bond Hotel Collection. I like that.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to trust Wayland with all these alien movies.
I know. I was going to say, it's interesting timing, the Wayland-Yutani Corporation. Yeah. But Mayor, you did mention the Broadway Bridge. We had some recent news out of that, if we want to talk about that some.
Yes, so the Broadway Bridge, there's long been a plan in place that the city and the state have an agreement in place where we are working to demolish the bad parts of the structure and save the good parts of the structure and rebuild it to be a pedestrian and vehicular, not a vehicular bridge. It used to be a vehicular bridge, but a pedestrian and bicycle bridge. And the state is really in charge of that. They own the bridge, and we're operating on their timeline because they have the expertise and the resources to do this. But the plan was to do this in 2026. They were planning this year, and then in 2026 would be the year of deconstruction and then reconstruction. But of course, that with a piece of that sidewalk falling, and it didn't fall into the river, but it fell onto a part of the riverbank that didn't hurt anyone, thankfully. But it
could have.
Yeah, now's the time
Yeah.
that we need to expedite that. So the state is putting out an emergency contract to start the demolition. We hope that starts by the end of September, and we're going to do it in such a way, or we're going to advocate for them to do it in such a way so that we can just close off the river for as little time as possible, and then reopen a piece of it so that we can get the recreational boating and commercial boating back in service, because I know right now these are the months that count: August, September, October. It's not so hot, and I think we realize that it's a critical time for the boating community. So we're working with our partners on the river, the stakeholders, and try to minimize the impact, and if possible, if we can try to find ways to help them out. So if anybody be sure to visit the Benson Marina, visit the dock, the restaurant on the Frankfort boat dock, and make sure you're taking advantage of the bourbon boat in Canoe, Kentucky. Those businesses that depend on the river, now we need to help them out because they're going to be affected in the short term. And I pointed out to people, this is something that eventually we were going to have to deal with. The Broadway Bridge. And it's just a deck that is going to be coming down, and the truss is going to be moved onto a barge to repurpose that. Eventually, that was going to have to happen. It's just that it's happening sooner than we expected. So it's like rip the Band-Aid off. Let's take care of it now, and hopefully next year at this time that we're not dealing with this.
Yeah, and it is another important reminder that it's some of these properties there are state you're kind of going with the recommendation and of the guidance of state government, and kind of a little bit limited in what we can do as a city, but yeah.
Right. And we support the state. Now, this is something that's been going on for since the 90s. Yeah. That this has been talked about.
Yeah, since like '93.
Yeah. And now we have an opportunity that the state is willing to help us put this back into service, and I think and they put in $3.5 million to do it. Mm-hmm. I think it's an opportunity that Frankfort needs to seize, because we're looking for other funds to do the rest of the riverfront development. Riverbank stabilization is something that we're working closely with Representative Comer on now to get funds for that. So, eventually the city's going to have to invest some funds into the riverfront redevelopment, and this is an opportunity for us to do it. And we're going to do all we can to help get help from the state and federal partners anytime we can. Mm-hmm. But this is one where we're going to need to put in some.
And it's something that people talk about all the time, that they want to see more riverfront development. So it'll be great.
And this is going to be an attraction just as much as it's going to be a way to get from one side of the river to the other. If you look at what's happened in Louisville, Cincinnati, Chattanooga, any place that's had a pedestrian bridge, it attracts people to the river to look at it from a different point. And it's just going to be one more piece of the overall corridor from downtown to Buffalo Trace.
And then right across the street, the new transit center is open.
Yes, as of Monday, we received our certificate of occupancy last Thursday. The state signed off on it, and we had our city inspectors there as well. There's some minor things that still need to be complete, but it is open for parking, and there we see people parking already. It is, and I want to point out that this, although the transit center itself is pretty much complete there, when you look at it, it looks like that it's just it's a standalone facility. Right. We have a big concrete wall, and I hope people understand that as a part of the overall development there, this is only partially complete. This just happens to be the first structure that's arisen from the ground, but this is going to enable. And the reason that there's a big concrete wall is that there's a plan to put a building all around that's going to block it.
Yeah, so most of what you see right now, you will not
see. Right. Hopefully 2 or 3 years from now, it will be either a new structure, whether it's apartments or a convention center. That's to be determined. Now that we do have state funding partially for a convention center, that might be a location. It might be somewhere around there, but that seems to be a good fit also because of the parking structure that is now there.
Mm-hmm.
And the actual ribbon cutting ceremony won't be until next month.
Right, September 12th, I think, is what we're targeting right now. So we had a press conference there to announce the funding for this, and then we did a groundbreaking with Transportation Secretary Gray, a couple of years ago now. And now we're going to do a ribbon cutting. So we're making sure we're getting our bang for our buck here.
Yeah, that's right.